Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear? Okay, so today is my turn to give the evening talk that LTW had promised to conduct every month. So the topic of today's talk is Tara, the Liberator, which is talking about the 21 Taras, which is a very familiar and famous practice that the Tibetans do. But before going into this subject, I would like to start by telling a little bit about the general outlines of Buddhism. As the Buddha said, do not do anything that is negative. Do everything that is, do the positive things perfectly. Completely transform your mind. This is my teaching. Just 4 lines, very simple, but he gives the essence of his teaching. Do not do anything that is negative. Do the positive things perfectly. Completely discipline or transform your mind. This is my teaching. It's very simple. So he's saying that do those things which is positive. And what is the demarcation between positive and negative? Those activities, physical, verbal and mental activities of human beings are called positive, which directly and indirectly helps other sentient beings. Those which directly and indirectly harms other sentient beings is called negative. So that's the demarcation, and it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because, as I often tell people, that right from the birth, we all want happiness and do not want suffering. And when it comes to happiness, we want the best, the maximum, the most durable, the most long-lasting. And when it comes to experiencing suffering, we do not want even the small bit, even the bite of mosquito. And how did it happen? This wish to have happiness and the wish to shun suffering, is it something that you learned from Buddhism or any other religion? It is not. It's the way you are born. The first thing that the child does after the birth is crying, meaning that he is not so happy and he wants happiness. So he came with that slogan. I call it slogan. The first slogan. So we need to remember these very basic, simple facts. So now if we came into this world with this slogan that I want happiness and do not want suffering, how will you ensure that it happens, that you get not only temporary happiness but long-lasting happiness, and to be able to shun suffering? How would you do that? How would you do that? The Buddha says, completely transform your mind. Do not do anything negative, do everything that is positive. And then 3rd line he says, completely train your mind. This is a very important statement, because otherwise many people say, if the essence of Dharma is to be good, then why do we have to study all these thick texts? Why the monks spend so many years studying? It's very simple. You do the good thing, stop the bad thing, that's it. But it's not so simple, not so easy, not so straightforward like that. Therefore the Buddha, on the 3rd line, the Buddha says, completely discipline your mind. Or tame your mind. And how would you tame your mind? By simply obeying somebody, be it the Buddha or His Holiness the Dalai Lama or anybody. Is it saying that because you are told to live such a life, therefore you need to live such a life? Without cautioning, without thinking? This is a very important matter. Therefore, what we need to know here is that this is not what the Buddha is saying. The Buddha is saying, completely train your mind, completely tame your mind. How would you tame your mind? It's a very crucial question. The way to tame the mind is in accordance with the law of nature. This is a big statement. The way to tame and discipline the mind is in accordance with the law of nature. Because what the Buddha taught was law of nature. Buddha did not invent the things that he taught. Buddha simply discovered what is there in the nature. The nature, the deep secrets of nature, which is written in the depth of the rocks, depth of the trees, depth of the human beings. It's written there. The law of nature is written there in each and every living thing. But we do not know. No, we try to know that. We simply follow a particular tradition, a particular line of thinking without questioning. And as such, you get into the quagmire of difficulties and problems, one after another, unceasing problems. So this for me is a very crucial point. Completely discipline and tame your mind. Yes, you have to tame your mind, you have to discipline mind. But how would you do that? How you should do that? In accordance with the law of nature. In accordance with the law of nature. So therefore, Buddha taught about the four reliances. Out of the teaching and the person. Rely more on the teaching than on the person. Meaning that you should not simply run after somebody because that person has a great name. That's what we do. Somebody has a great name, then everybody knows. It's not only a great teacher, but even like somebody says, oh, there is a stocking or or shoes, being sold in Meglotganj. It's very cheap. Hardly anybody will think whether I need such a shoes or not, simply because of the fact that it is cheap. Everybody will go and buying it. And then they'll say, oh, it's all gone, I couldn't buy it. This is our mentality, you see. We go after popularity. But the Buddha's teaching says, follow more of the teaching than of the teacher. Judge the teaching of the teacher. And then thereby you should judge the teacher, the quality of the teacher. And with the teaching of the Buddha also, the Buddha says, rely more on the meaning than on the beauty of the word. Because there may be teachers or whoever, who may be able to say very nice, interesting things, and play with the word, especially if he is very eloquent and good in the language skills. He can make it very beautiful. But if it doesn't have the content, doesn't have the meaning, then it doesn't serve the purpose. So out of the meaning and the word, follow more of the meaning than on the word. Now when it comes to following the meaning, the Buddha says follow more of the definitive meaning than on the interpretative meaning. Because Buddha gave different levels of teaching. One called interpretative teaching, another called definitive teaching. He is to give these different levels of teaching because among his followers and listeners, there are so many people with so many diverse mental dispositions. So if you give the same level of teaching to everybody, people will get confused. They will not be able to understand it. So depending upon their need, their mental disposition, the maturity of their mind, he gives a different teaching. So some of these teachings are to help them gradually guide to the definitive meaning. So for the time being, it is not the definitive meaning, it is interpretative. It has to be interpreted at a later stage. Okay? Just as we teach language, in the beginning we play with the kaka, ganga, not the real stuff. But then gradually you go to the real stuff. Okay? Now when it comes to understanding the definitive meaning, he says follow more of the wisdom mind than on the grosser consciousness. Because at the end of the day, it's the wisdom mind that has to understand the reality. This is also a very, very important point. Because ordinarily, in the case of most of us, we are not even able to use our grosser consciousness, grosser mental consciousness. Forget about wisdom mind. We are even unable to use our grosser mental consciousness. We don't care about using the mental consciousness in understanding the reality. We end up letting our senses play the role. Your eye wants to see something. The eye says, I want to see this beautiful thing, and then the mind is helpless. He lets that beautiful thing to see. And then the tongue says, I want to taste that delicious food, goes after it. Ear says, I want to listen to this beautiful music and things like that. The body says, I want to, partake this soft touch. And the nose says, no, I want to just smell very fragrant, things. So like that. So therefore we are controlled and dictated by the five senses. We are controlled and dictated by the five senses. We became slave to the dictates of the five senses. So now what I'm saying is, whether what I'm saying is true or not, you should relate to your experience and make it sense out of your experience. Whether in your daily life you are using a lot of your mental thinking in understanding the reality, or are you letting the senses dictate your life? You judge. You should judge. And by judging we will find most of the time we will be led by the dictates of the five senses. Eye wants to see something, ear wants to listen to something, nose wants to smell something good, tongue wants to taste something, body wants to feel something soft. And in the pursuit of fulfilling those five sensual objects, we become extremely busy. That's why today, particularly in today, modern day, everybody says, I'm busy. Heaven knows for what they are busy. Nobody knows why they are so busy. Because everybody is busy, the others also start thinking, I also have to. As I said already, everybody is running, therefore I should also run. Ribung chaldo. Everybody is running, therefore I must run. This is our mentality. This clearly shows we do not have much thinking power to do things on our own. So we hardly use the mental consciousness. We use primarily the sense consciousnesses. So now you can see the level of your or our spiritual practice. What goes to the next life is not the sense consciousness. It is the mental consciousness. But throughout our life, we use only the sense consciousness. That's why in the Buddhist teaching, you are repeatedly told to do meditation. That's the point. Meditation means let your mind get habituated, let your mind, not the senses, let your mind get habituated with positive ways of thinking. Get habituated with the reality, the way things are. Because through that familiarity and habituation of your mind with the way things are, and if you're able to leave an imprint on that mind, then this mind is going to carry that habit. Imprint means habit. The mind will carry that habit to the next life, and if the mind is carrying positive habit, he will continue to live that positive habit. Does it make sense? Normally we say Paksha Sha Khidore. What does that mean? People have no idea. So Paksha means imprint. What is this imprint? It's also very difficult. So imprint means basically habit. When you repeatedly do something, you form a habit. That means Paksha Shava. That is the meaning. When you form the habit, that die-hard habit as we call it, the die-hard habit continues. Like for example, in this life also we engage in ways of doing and thinking according to, in what area we are habituated. If you are habituated in singing, most of the time you will sing. If you are habituated in dancing, most of the time you will dance. If you are habituated in playing football, you will most of the time think about playing football and actually play football, you see. The habit goes on. So therefore it is to tame and discipline the mind means make your mind habituated. Habituated with what? Next question is habituated with what? Negative emotions? Meditate with what? Negative emotions? No, definitely not. Because with the negative emotions, we are already advanced meditators. We are very, very strongly habituated with negative emotions. So from there it is very clear that the Buddha or other teachers are not asking us to get more habituated with anger, more habituated with attachment. There we are experts. You don't need, in fact they are saying, undo those habits, undo those habits. So the area in which you are not habituated is with those positive emotions. For example, compassion, patience, you see. It's not easy to get habituated with, particularly in difficult times. So it needs sustained, constant practice. And if you do constant, sustained practice, then at the time when you face turmoil, when you face difficulties, when you face problems, you will remain totally unshaken. The world may be in turmoil, in big problem, but you will be totally at peace. That's possible. That's possible. It's not just a fairy tale. It is possible. It is possible, and it is the only solution. It is the only solution. If you want to get rid of suffering, if you want to get rid of problems, the only way, the only solution for that is make your mind habituated with the positive emotions. Make friendship with positive emotions. Why? Another question, why? Because you said you want happiness. Because you said you want peace. And when asked, okay, you want peace, you want happiness, how long, for how many days? I asked this question several times in Russia, in America, in Singapore, so many areas I ask this question to people. Do you all want happiness? Everybody says, yes, sir. You don't want any suffering? No, sir. Okay, you want happiness? How many days? Then without answering, they all laugh and smile. By laughing, they are saying, Geshe, when it comes to happiness, it's not a question of having it for a few days. Greedy as we are. Because I want the most durable, long-lasting happiness. This is not something we learned from Buddhism. It's the way we are. I mean, if you study science, it's so interesting to see. It's not only in the case of human beings. Even if you study about the cells, the bacteria, they survive by cooperation. It's interesting. There's something in the cells, in the bacteria, that they try their best, even in the very difficult situation, to work together and to survive. It's the nature of the cells and bacteria, if you study science, from that very tiny level to the level of human being. So there's our nature. Look at the trees. They struggle very hard to survive. Even when there is not much water, sun is very hot, still they try their best to survive. So that is the reality. So that being the reality, that you want long-lasting happiness and peace. So the next very pertinent question is, from where I am going to get that long-lasting peace and happiness? Because you said you want it. If you said you want it, then you need to find out and think carefully what could be the source. It could be either an external source or it could be an internal source. There's only two possibilities. Now, external source, name, fame, money, relatives, friends, they can give you some peace, some happiness. In many cases, of course, more headache, more trouble. But in some cases, with good friends, good relatives, good family, and things like that, you get some peace, some happiness, for sure. But here we are talking about long-lasting peace and happiness. You should, explore your heart and think sincerely, honestly. Do you think that you are going to get the long-lasting peace and happiness from what is outside of you? Your relatives, your families, your friends, your money, your name, your fame, whatever they are. Do you really think you are going to get the long-lasting peace and happiness? And I asked this question to many places in different countries. Again, everybody says, we don't think so. You see, if you think that's the reality, they say, we don't think so. So you need to think. You need to think. But according to the wisdom of the Buddha, according even to the wisdom of many Western philosophers, great thinkers, they all say, what is outside of you cannot be the source of long-lasting peace and happiness. Because they are outside of you. Because you have no control over them. Like for example, if there is a beautiful tree growing outside, just by seeing the tree with flowers and its beautiful leaves and things like, we get some peace and happiness. But it is wrong to think that that tree is growing there to fulfill your long-lasting peace and happiness. The tree is not growing there to suit your temperament, to make you happy all the time. Shall I grow this way or grow this way? Trees don't grow like that. Trees don't grow to adjust your need and temperament. So similarly, human beings, your friend, relative, husband, wife, whosoever, it's wrong to think that they are there to adjust your need. Yes, mutually working together, mutually, understanding each other, you can together do some good things. That's true. So that's why even with the problem of the Tibet, with the China, His Holiness says negotiation, dialogue. So it cannot. It is impossible. It is impossible. So it's important to realize that what is outside of you, living beings or living things, they have their own life. They have their own needs. You need to respect their need, their life. The more you regard them, the more you respect them, the more you serve them, the more you become the beneficiary. The more you treat what is outside of you as something that to be exploited mercilessly to fulfill, in most of the cases, your short-term needs, then the end result will be what we are witnessing today, the destruction of the whole planet. Now, for example, if you see today's weather, you see, what you see up there is mostly dust, you see. When there's a little bit of rain, it's all dust. So from where all this dust and pollution coming, you see. This pollution and dust are not made by tigers and lions. They're made by human beings because of greed, because of this wish to destroy everything to fulfill one's short-term purposes and benefits. That's what we are doing, the intelligent human beings. That's what the intelligent human beings are doing. So therefore, completely transform your mind, train your mind, meaning change your mind in accordance with the law of nature, the way things are. In other words, it's saying that learn to live in harmony with nature. Learn to live in harmony with everybody. Learn to develop that harmony within your own psychophysical system. The 4 or 5 elements in your body, if they are not in harmony, rather in disharmony, then you get, I'm having fever. I'm having solung, you see. Things like that, because they are in disharmony. When things are not in harmony, even for a singer, you cannot produce a beautiful song in random, you see. The same guitar which you can give in the hand of a monkey or one who really knows how to play it, there is a big difference, you know. The one who knows how to play, he knows how to, produce that kind of beautiful symphony, you see. Then you are able to hear a beautiful song. If you give the same instrument to the monkey will also play, but in random. So there will be no music, you see. So the music of life, the music of peace, the music of happiness is produced by maintaining that harmony with the nature among human beings, within one's own psychophysical system. So that harmony can be created by understanding the way things are, how things are functioning. Not simply letting your mind do in accordance with your whim. Because most of the time we do things because I want to do these things. There's no other reason. We have no time to see what is the reality. You live a life of obstinacy and stubbornness without understanding the reality. So much of the confusion, problems that we experience today is created through confusion. In Buddhism we call it ignorance. Ignorance, not understanding the reality. So therefore, it's very important to understand the Buddha's teaching as not only scientific but much more than that. The aim itself is to produce that long-lasting peace and happiness, to produce that harmony among all of us. That's the Buddha's teaching. So therefore, it's important for all of us to understand the fact that the Buddhist teaching is not, simply a tradition that you must follow because your parents were Buddhist. That's not the case. The Buddhist teaching is not just going around the temple and doing some prostrations. Rest of your life you don't care, and then on special holy days thinking that there will be a quick enlightenment, you go around the temple, do some prostrations, thinking that all the blessings will come up through me. And your regular life you don't study, don't practice, don't think, and then you think, oh, if I see His Holiness and have His hand touch on my head, all the sins will be gone, There's no, Buddha never taught push button enlightenment. Instant enlightenment, you see. And even if you want something like instant or push button enlightenment, you need to practice tantra, which is supposed to be a quick path. But even for that, you need sutric practice first, you see. So without some grounding, without some understanding of the whole teaching, and without some sincere practice, it is impossible to change your die-hard habit. So this we need to know. One, my mind is not trained, not tamed. It's more ruled by negative emotions. Anger, jealousy, hatred, so many negative emotions. My mind is predominantly ruled by these negative emotions, not by the positive emotions. We need to confirm this. We are very good in checking and confirming whether my flight to Delhi is all right or not, train ticket is all right or not. This kind of confirmation we are very good, but we need to confirm more important things, like what is your state of mind. And we have all lot of experience. So it's not just reading a book. You need to just think, without any book, just think how many times you got angry in your life. You may not be able to count it. Okay? But at least during the last 1 or 2 years, or at least in the past 1 month, did you get angry or not? Think like that. Then if you had an experience of getting angry, then you should see how was the occasion. Did you really enjoy? Did you really enjoy? There's nobody who right in the morning makes motivation saying that today I will get angry. There's nobody. So that clearly shows that we have some inkling of idea that anger is not good. But because we are controlled by negative emotions, we are helpless, we do get angry. Then even after getting angry, when the anger has cooled down, if you check and reflect, there's nobody who says, I really got mad and angry today, so therefore I really enjoyed the day. So these are our living experiences. You don't have to learn from a Buddhist text. So you should see whether it was good or not good. If it is good, okay, keep on getting angry. Because we all want something that is long-lasting, good, peaceful, happiness. So if anger is really giving you that long-lasting peace and happiness, good sleep without nightmare and all those things, keep on enjoying anger. That's what the Buddha is saying. In simple terms, that's what the Buddha is saying. There are on other occasions where you might have sincerely helped somebody. And what was that experience? What did you feel? What kind of satisfaction, happiness did you get? So it's not only negative emotions, the positive experiences also, you should recall those positive experiences. Recall those positive experiences. The good thing with these positive experiences, especially if you've done something selflessly, then you will get a satisfaction which you cannot buy from the market. That deep mental satisfaction without expecting anything from other, that's called real peace, real happiness. That you cannot buy from the market. So satisfaction. Leading a life which is where you don't have to regret. Where you feel that I did my part. Okay? Realizing that we are all ordinary people, but we have limited capacity. But even with that limited capacity, we can do miracles. Even with that limited capacity, we can do miracles. If you have that wish to help others, sometimes it is just a helping hand. Sometimes it's just a smile. Just a smile, believe me. And we all have that experience. If you find somebody who had lost their path, just show the path, tell the path. How are you? Things like that, you see. It makes your life so easy. So easy. And that's why every day when we meet each other, we say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Nobody says bad morning, bad afternoon, bad evening. See? This is what we do. And in Tibetan, not only good morning and good afternoon, in Tibetan we say Tashi Dele. Have you ever thought about the meaning of this word? Tashi, may auspiciousness be with you. What kind of auspiciousness? Dele. Deva means ngonto ngelik da tharwa garche. Ngonto lami deva to ngelik tharwa da thamji chemba. Tashi Dele is talking about attaining nirvana and enlightenment. Dele, Om Dele Suchurchi. Many texts, important texts, they start with this word, Om Dele Suchurchi, meaning that may your body, mind gradually achieve nirvana and enlightenment. Such a profound word that we experience all the time, Tashi Dele. You're talking about Buddhism, the heart of Buddhism. Not only physical well-being for today, Dele is not just physical well-being for now, but it's talking about achieving that real well-being in the form of nirvana and definite goodness like enlightenment or obtaining a good human rebirth, things like that. You see. So if you're somebody, when you undertake these exchanges, good morning, good afternoon, Tashi Dele, if you sincerely recall those, the meaning of these words, you will be then living completely differently. Completely differently. And then, moreover, you realize that it is not enough to say good morning and then fight. Because then it will become bad morning. You see? So this is a good practice of first saying things, so that later your mind is able to practice it, follow it. And that practice has to be done regularly. It's not easy. Saying is easy. Doing is very, very difficult. In terms of knowledge also it's difficult, but not so difficult. All of us know a lot of things already. Honestly speaking, we all know a lot of things. But are we able to practice what we know? No. That's the problem. It's like talking about the deliciousness of different cuisines, different food. Oh, momo made in that hotel is so good. It is of this kind, that type. It is of this taste, that taste. You can mention the name of so many delicious food, but unless you eat it, you cannot actually relish it, you see. So it's by tasting, actually eating, that you will be able to fulfill your need, not just by talking about it. So like that. So that's why when we study texts like this, Tara or Avalokiteshvara or Heart Sutra, whatever text is we are studying, we need to study all these things, okay. But you need to understand the essence. So I'm talking about the essence. The essence is to fight against the negative emotions. In simple terms, that is the main job. To fight against the negative emotions and to strengthen the positive emotions. And this you can do not according to the teaching alone, but relate it to your own experience. Which one is better, which one is good. And develop the conviction of the goodness of the positive emotions and the negativeness of the negative emotions. The more you develop that conviction of the negativeness of destructive emotions, the more you will be able to distance yourself from negative emotions. Like your two friends. Let us say you met two people today, both seemingly good, looking nice people. But the more you spend time with them, one of these person turns out to be really reliable, very good, very honest. The more you see the quality of this good person, the more you will develop your friendship with that person. The other person, in the beginning looks good, but the more you spend time with that person, the more you see the ugly side of that person, the more you will distance yourself from that person, because it's not good for you. So in the same way, when we talk about making friendship with the positive emotions, distancing yourself from the negative emotions, this should be done by seeing the advantages and disadvantages of these two kind of emotions. Why? Because the negative emotions will bring suffering. The positive emotions will bring peace and happiness. So real peace and happiness is not so much about money, not so much about name and fame. There is a quotation by Buddha himself where he says, I am very happy because I have nothing. Can you see the paradox? The Buddha says, I'm very happy because I have nothing. Whereas in our case, we'll say, I'm suffering so much because I have nothing. You see? So that's the thing. That's the thing. And again, I'm not saying that we don't need wealth, money, things like that. What I'm saying is, through honest way, if you become rich, wonderful. You become wealthy, wonderful. Congratulations. But what I'm saying is, do not develop too much craving and grasping. That's the problem. Having money and wealth, name, fame itself is not the problem. The problem is craving and grasping and misusing those facilities. Mingla tunjin serya chocho le nyamra chiba duji yamoi. That means even if there is something which is called as facility, but if it is simply distracting you from positive ways of life and thinking, from dharma practices, then it's not a facility, but it's rather an invitation sent to you by the evil forces. Mingla chocho serya karse mingla tunjin serya chocho le nyamra chiba duji yamoi duji shosi words. So we have so many invitations these days. They're all distracting us, pulling us in different directions. Number one, we ourselves is not very stable, and secondly, all these distractions are pulling us, in all different directions. So what we need is harmony. What we need is stability. And with attachment, you will lose your stability. With anger, you will lose your stability. For example, look at, even in terms of physical stability, look at anger. When you get angry, immediately you shiver, Stability is lost immediately. He's always, bullying me. You see, already you are mad and shaking, There's no stability. So when you have no stability, how can you get that peace and happiness? Then, for example, dosha, if you want the latest Maruti car or whatever, nga Maruti car the chungna. Your whole body goes towards, mind goes towards it. You see? So stability is gone. If there is no attachment, you can sit stable like this, but attachment is there. Oh, I want this car. Oh, I want this thing. The stability is lost, you see. So this is how these negative emotions destroy you. And if you sit and think carefully, the negative emotions really have no solid foundation, no reason to exist. You need to, again, like a scientist or like a logician, you can do that research. What is the foundation of these negative emotions? There's not much foundation, there's not much logic for their existence. With the positive emotions, there are a lot of logic, a lot of very stable foundation. Why we should cultivate these positive emotions. As I said, the law of nature calls for harmony. The law of nature calls for stability. That is the logic. That's the reason. Okay? Then also when negative emotions arise, you become stupid, silly and narrow-minded. For example, when you anger, this is the person who made the mess. You see? Your whole attitude becomes narrow now, focusing only on one person. He is the one. No, Choda is the one. I'm joking. Like that, you see? When you cultivate positive emotions like compassion, does it say, I will develop compassion only for this person? Compassion says, may all sentient beings are without suffering. It opens up, embraces everybody, you see. So the positive emotions have a holistic attitude. The negative emotions have narrow-mindedness, selfishness, for example. Selfishness is suffocating. It's suffocating. Scientifically, it's not Buddhism talking about it, but scientifically it is now experimented by saying that people who talk or make a lot of references to I, me and mine, these people are more prone to all kind of sicknesses, including heart attack. Scientifically it is found. And I read that when I was studying in the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, when I was reading Chandakirti's Middle Way, right in the beginning, there is a stanza which says, Tango ngashi daula shiyuj, dagin dishi ngola chajiba, sujun chenda rawa meba, dini korba korgiri siyore. Chandakirti in his Madhyamika, right in the beginning. First this attachment to oneself, then attachment to the mind. Because of this attachment to me and mine, you get entrapped in the wheel of cyclic existence. So a scientist, I recall very well, when I attended a conference with His Holiness in New York, long time back. So he came out with his data that those people who make a lot of self-references, they are prone to all kind of diseases, including heart attack. Because why? Because your focus is very narrow. You see, you develop tunnel vision. With tunnel vision, you see only limited things. Oh, it's me who is suffering. The rest of the world is not existing. It's me who is suffering. I am the most unfortunate person. All the problems and difficulties are on my head, Why these other people are laughing and smiling, you see? It's me, the miserable fellow. See, that's the attitude. There's sunshine outside, you don't see sunshine. You see the darkness only. Because this is how you close the window, close the doors. That's what people do. Actually, that's what people do. They cover their head, the blanket. You see? I'm not making a joke. This is what actually people do. So it's their doing that they are not able to see the sunshine, they are not able to see the beautiful things outside of the window and the door, you see. So they unnecessarily suffer. So the Buddha's teaching basically is saying that look, you are suffering unnecessarily. That's what the Buddha is saying. You are suffering unnecessarily. And if you develop a little bit of wisdom, you can stop many of this unnecessary suffering. And it becomes so evident in today's world, because when we talk about suffering today, there are natural calamities and man-made calamities. Natural calamities, a little bit understandable, but man-made suffering, you see, are absolutely unnecessary sufferings. Much of the problem we are experiencing is created by other human beings. You see? So therefore the Buddha said, if you develop a little bit of wisdom and understanding about the reality, you will be able to get rid of many of these sufferings. Many of this thing called suffering that you thought suffering is not even suffering. It's not even suffering. It's your mental creation. You thought this is suffering and you are suffering. And how much our own mental projection does the job. I'll give you an example. For example, somebody says, oh, this painting of the pillar is so beautiful. And another one says, no, this is not so beautiful. This is very funny, I don't understand this one. And there's too many yellow things are there, Who is right, who is wrong? But depending upon your mental perspective, one person may be unnecessarily suffering. Because he sees only the ugly side of that thing. The other person sees the good side of the thing. This is how even we get married, you see. Oh, this person looks so nice, I'll get married. You see? It is not necessary that you are able to pick up the best husband or best wife. But you have to settle down somewhere, depending upon your mental perspective. So that's how we make the judgment. That's how we make the judgment. Even when you go for shopping, this is how you make the judgment. You see? So many a times you waste money and come home bringing just bag of garbages. No, you check how far I am true. You check yourself how far I am true. So what I'm saying is, as the Buddha taught, there is a difference, there is a disparity, there is a gap between appearance and reality. We go after appearance. We have no time to go for the reality. And appearances are deceptive. Appearances are deceptive. Appearance is deceptive. So therefore normally, even during a marriage, the parents would say, oh, take time. Take some time, see how good that person is, Don't just go after the appearances, you see. So we go after appearances. Even while shopping, people know, the shopkeepers, the business people, they know people will come looking after the appearances. So what is important for them is the package, not what is inside. Package. Now you can see in the market is flooding with so many beautiful packages. You see, inside you never know how old they are, maybe 1 year old or whatever, But they will put some chemicals so that it will not smell. Otherwise it is already old, many of these things. But outside it looks very beautiful. So we go and buy it, appearances. We'll prefer drink juice than water, because water doesn't have that beautiful appearance, The juice has a more beautiful appearance. We go after it, paying a lot of money, and not necessarily good for your health. So appearances are deceptive, and there is a gap between appearance and reality. So what the Buddha is saying is, don't run too much after appearance, take time, and if possible, understand the reality. So that is where the Buddha's teaching about impermanence, interdependent origination, suffering, all this teaching comes there, because they are not created by Buddha. They are reality. Impermanence is not something created by Buddha. It is a reality. We are born, we will die. We construct a house, after something it will crumble. It is reality. Suffering is reality. I wish we have no suffering, but it's a reality. It will come in 100,000 forms. Interdependent origination is a reality. Even though these are realities, but we don't pay much attention to the reality. We want to think opposite to it. Things are transient, impermanent, changing, but we want to believe that things are not transient, they are not changing, they are not permanent. I want to remain youthful as long as possible. I want to remain handsome as long as possible. I don't want to even listen to this thing called death, I might die tomorrow. Sometimes I jokingly tell this, hey, Geshe lah, duksha dine malo, tengi duksha dine malo. They are scared of hearing death, you see. But it's only one aspect of the reality, you see. So when you say, I don't want to hear about impermanent, don't want to hear about death and so forth, you're almost like saying, like even if, let us take the example of your travel to, say, Bangalore. Even if you're very soon going to Bangalore, but still, I'm not worried about going to Bangalore. I don't want to buy my ticket right now. I don't want to confirm my ticket right now. Will you say things like that? No, because you are sure that you are going to Bangalore. So therefore you must ensure that the ticket is bought. You must ensure that it is confirmed. You need to check all this. Why? Because you know that you are going to Bangalore on one of these days. So similarly, when we talk about the death in the next life, we are talking in a similar manner, that we are going very soon. When? Unfortunately, don't know. Invitation can come anytime. Honestly. Why are we talking about these things? We talk about these things because there is a value. If you talk about these things, then you will buy the ticket, confirm the ticket, and then have a safe travel. So therefore we need to talk about this like right now. We talk about these things right now, then we live our life in such a way that while you live, however long it may be, while you live, you will live harmoniously with others. You will live in peace. You will live in happiness. You'll benefit many people. And then at the time when the invitation comes, your ticket is confirmed already. You see? So nothing to worry. It's like changing clothes. Death is like changing clothes. That's what the great masters say. It's just like going to sleep tonight. Are you scared of sleeping tonight? Closing your eye is a kind of death. You see? We are not. Why? We are not. It's kind of death. You don't sense anything like. But you are not scared of that. Because you accept it. You are used with that. So similarly with this thing called death also, we need to think about those realities. And particularly you need to think about this in terms of So in this case you need to think about the mind. The one which goes to the next life is mind, not the body, as I said already. So here you need to think, is it possible to have a separate entity called mind, separate from the body? Is it possible? How is it possible? Or the death is the end of everything? So you need to think a little bit about those things, the possibilities of continuity of life. Or, in other words, whether there is a next life or not, whether the mind will continue or not, or whether there is a mind or not. We all say that my mind is not happy, my mind is happy. But have you ever thought about what that mind is? It's a tricky question, because if you understand a little bit of the nature of the mind, then you will be able to understand many possibilities, the continuity of the next life and so forth. So that's important. Okay? Some questions? We have 5-10 minutes. Any questions? Any questions? Because what I'm trying to do whenever I give a talk is, I'm not a highly learned scholar or teacher. What I try to do is to make Buddhism sense in this life. What I try to do is to make Buddhism, sense. Make sense of Buddhism. Buddhism, of course, has sense. I don't have to make a special effort in that case. But sometimes, with some examples, with some illustrations, relating it to your own personal experience in life, you may then be able to confirm the usefulness and relevance of the Buddha's teaching. So that is very, very important, because this Buddha's teaching is not just for talking, it's for living. It's for living. And in order to live in accordance with the Buddha's teaching, you need to develop that conviction. Therefore, in Buddhism, we talk about hearing, thinking, meditation. Threefold process of practice. Hearing, thinking, and meditation. First, you have to listen to the teaching or hear the teaching. Is that enough? It's like hearing. If you are thirsty, looking for water, and having no idea where water is available, then you need to ask somebody where water is available. And then that person says the water is available 2 kilometers from here. It's important to hear that. But is that enough? After having heard that the water is available 2 kilometers from here, will you say, oh, thank you, my thirst is gone? You need to walk for 2 kilometers. You need to walk for 2 kilometers. So that is the second stage of practice, thinking. It's not enough to hear, but you have to think about the truth of that teaching, what you heard. It's not enough that you heard what is available 2 kilometers from here. You need to make sure that what is really available at 2 kilometers, you need to walk 2 kilometers. And after having walked 2 kilometers, you reach near the water. Now you are very close. You reach near the water, you are able to see the water. So that's the purpose of thinking. Not only hearing, but you yourself analyze and think and question. Then you will be able to develop that conviction. Yes, this teaching really makes sense. Yes, this teaching really makes sense. It really seems to be true. You develop that conviction, which is very good progress, very good development. But is that enough? Just like having reached near the water and able to see the water, then will you say, now I am able to see the water? My thirst is gone. Thank you very much. It's not enough. You need to bend down, use your hand or cup, whatever, and drink the water. It's only by drinking the water that you will be able to quench your thirst. So similarly, hearing is good, thinking is good, but having developed conviction through thinking, then you need to make your mind habituated with that subject. That's called meditation. Get habituated with that subject so that that quality becomes a part of yourself. Like, for example, compassion. You hear about compassion, you think about it, and then you check whether I have the compassion or not. If you don't have, then you need to get habituated with that so that compassion becomes a part of your life. So that's like drinking water. Clear? Any questions? If no question, then about the taras. So many things to be said about so many things, and I mean, in the books, if you are interested, there are a lot of books about Tara, so you should read it, Tara means liberator, Dharma, the liberator. And the 21 Taras that we are talking about is all manifestation of green Tara. Green Tara and white Tara is very famous. The Tara practice comes basically in the Tantric practice. Tantra and mantra, or secret tantra sometimes we call it. Mantra, mind, tra, protecting the mind. Tantra, tan means continuity, tra means protecting the stream, protecting the continuity, protecting the mind. That's the meaning of tantra or mantra. Sometimes it's called also Vajrayana, the indivisible diamond or something. Okay. So basically, one of the main meaning of the word tantra and mantra, protecting the mind, means, as I already explained, much of the problems and difficulties that we encounter in our life are because of our wrong ways of seeing things. Because our wrong ways of seeing things. We are very good in highlighting the shortcomings and limitations of other people. We are not very good in appreciating their positive achievement, their good qualities. And the more we talk about the shortcomings, limitations of other people, the more we develop that negative emotion, the more we suffer, the more we feel unhappy. So that's why I was saying it is our own creation. So therefore, in the case of tantric and mantric practice also, it says mantra, protect your mind. Mantra, protect your mind. How would you protect your mind? By reducing seeing things in their negative form. By seeing things in their positive form, you will be able to protect yourself. You see? Therefore, in tantric practice, there is this practice of seeing everything in its pure form. Like, for example, when you receive the Kala Chakra tantric initiation, there is a mandala created there. That mandala symbolizes the resident, deities and the residents, the whole, pure mansion and place. So when you visualize and think about that resident deity and the residence of those deities, it's completely pure. It's like Buddha realm, completely pure. When you are in that pure realm, there's nothing to complain. When there's nothing to complain, why should you get angry? Why should you get unhappy, you see? Everything is perfect. Wow. The devas look so good, so elegant. The palace is so beautiful. Wow. You feel so happy, you see. But in our ordinary life, oh, this one is not so good. Oh, this house is not so good. Oh, this place is smelly, the place itself is not so good. In addition to that, our mind's way of picking things up is also horrible. So we keep on collecting the junk, as we do with the internet, collecting the junk. And by collecting the junk, we make our mind a dustbin. You see? So how can you protect your mind? So therefore, the tantric teaching says, try to see everything it is in pure form. Then no need to get angry, no need to get unhappy. So therefore we visualize these pure deities and their mandalas or their home or their palaces. Okay? So therefore Tara also comes into this tantric practice. So there's a short idea about mantra and tantra. And then the next question is whether there is such a female deity, 21 or many more. Are they like waiting for you somewhere there, up there, with all these different costumes and instruments? They may be there, they may not be there. This is a tricky question, you know. They may be there in the sense because there is an authentic story, if you read, that from countless eons, they have taken vows in the presence of many Buddhas that they will come and always protect and guide people from fear, from sufferings. There is an authentic story there. Like, for example, Avalokiteshvara, when he made a vow that he will deliver all sentient beings from suffering, and he did his best, and at one point he thought that he had saved all sentient beings from suffering, and then next morning when he looks, he will find more sentient beings down there suffering. He tries continuously and he sees the same kind of suffering there, and he says, I give up. Impossible. Impossible. And it is said that his head split into, because he broke his commitment, his head split into 11 pieces. Then Amitabha came and said, my son, don't get discouraged. I will always be with you. So he put those broken pieces together back. As a representation of that, we have now the 11-faced Avalokiteshvara. And on the top of that, you will see the Amitabha Buddha. So similarly, at that time, it is said that Tara also, with her many manifestations, she said, don't give up, don't get discouraged, I will help you. And it is in fact said when Avalokiteshvara got so sad that he even shed tears, and that the tear becomes a pool. And from there born a lotus or something, and from there emanated Aryatara, who had taken a vow to continue to save sentient beings. So that there are many stories how the Tara in different forms protected so many people from suffering when they had sincerely prayed to her. Okay, so there's a long story. You should read those interesting stories. Then at the time, more recent time, like at the time of Atisha, when he was going around the Bodh Gaya stupa, circumambulating, reciting the 21 Taras, then Tara appeared to him and he said, go to Tibet. You will be able to do a lot of benefit to the Tibetan people. So again, you can see the special connection with the Tibetan people and the Tara also. Atisha came to Tibet because of the prophecy given by Tara. Then on other occasions, there are a lot. In the recent stories, if you read the close, contact with Tara and Atisha, and then later on the Tibetan scholar Taranatha and so forth, even his name Taranatha, son of Tara or something like that. Okay, Jona Taranatha. So there are a lot of stories related to that. Even otherwise, I think those people who had sincerely prayed to the Tara, there are many kind of stories of getting protected, removed from poverty, illness, sickness, and so forth, which we'll read later on. So it is possible. Much is dependent upon our own perception, our own devotion, you see. When your devotion is there, your commitment is there, your aspiration is there, things turn out to the positive side. When it's not there, when you are weak, evil forces come. Don't think that evil forces are unemployed and waiting there, to harm you. It's not the case. But when you become weak, you become victim of not only evil forces but human beings. You become even victim of viruses. When your body is weak, you get all kinds of diseases, you see. So you need to develop that strength, physical strength, mental strength, so that you are not victimized by any external, not necessarily negative forces, but even viruses and bacteria, you see. So this is how it works, Okay? So therefore, because of this connection, I felt it will be interesting to study about this a little bit. We don't have much time, and I don't know much. I will be basically consulting the books, okay? But because we all recite and chant this 21 Tara, it's important that we get some idea. Even when I was in His Holiness's office, I asked somebody to publish a book on 21 Taras with the commentary and distributed it free to many people. So I was gradually encouraging people that at least when you recite mani, you should know what is mani, Benzanguru or Chamro. At least these things that you regularly do, you should really know about their meaning. Then it will make sense. Okay? So we stop here today. Thank you.